Welcome to The Screen Queen, the show where I'll be talking about your favorite show or your favorite movie. You'll just have to find out what you're about to know. This is your Screen Queen, your host, Samantha Parrish. Hello there, and welcome back to the show. This is your subscription for free fiction, your Screen Queen, Samantha Parrish. So, it's been a while since I've done one of these. I have missed doing the Trailer Time episode, and it's been noticed that this sister show, my little spin-off show, has not really come up lately. And I've had some friends inquire to ask me if I was ever going to do another Trailer Time episode. And I have been waiting to do a Trailer Time episode. I just haven't found any trailers yet to be able to go into it. For a while, it was kind of a dry spell. The thing I love about Trailer Time is that it kind of bridges the gap for me to talk about current movies and current TV shows before they land their way into a regular episode on The Screen Queen. But at the same time, the trailers that I pick, I would like to be able to have some kind of a concrete commentary that I can be able to make some questions and give some insight that it has to interest me, so I have something to go off of. And for a while, some of the movies just weren't interesting to me, and if there were, all we got was a teaser. And I'm like, excuse me, I need a little bit more limited information before we get the limited information. Thank you very much. And finally, with the summer coming up, we have a plethora of summer blockbusters going to be hitting the theaters. And now that we're finally getting the trailers, I got some stuff to talk about. Finally. And this particular episode of Trailer Time is going to be a little bit different because there's a lot riding on this movie that has not come out yet from what I've gathered solely because of the trailer. I saw the trailer for the last Voyage of the Demeter when I went to go see Renfield with my best pal Ams, which the irony was so thick I couldn't even see it until after I finished the trailer. So it starts out like any other day in the 1870s. Everyone's just getting ready to go on the ship. They got their cargo ready. Everyone's in place. And they're just going to set forth their course. They got their cargo. They got their crew. They're ready to go. Except here's the problem. There's something on the ship. There is more than just cargo on this ship. And the crew is starting to take some alarm that they might not be alone. Something might be on the board that's not human. And when we got a glimpse of the creature on the ship, I noticed pointy ears. And I'm like, that has to be Nosferatu. But I'm like, I'm gonna wait. It's a trailer. I can't be making assumptions yet until I get some more information. And sure enough, the crew starts dying like flies, and they're trying to figure out what's on the ship. And it finally pops up with the title, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And I'm like, I want to watch it. But then my dumbass forgot the name. It took me a while to find it until the trailer finally hit the internet and I could finally find it. My Google search history was not very good for quite some time. It wasn't controversial, but it was definitely fucking confusing. Having to type in things like Nosferatu prequel movie coming out in 2023 and Google just kind of was like, shrug. Like, thanks. Felt like I was some kind of like strained detective looking for answers. And then finally, when I got to revisit the trailer in a horror movie trailer compilation for the upcoming horror movies, I'm like, oh, it's you! I've been looking for you! And I've mentioned before on the show that vampires are not the biggest thing that I'm behind. It just doesn't do it for me. But I've always respected the history for vampires. And I always love when a genre is going to be shaking things up a bit, spicing things up. And to see the trailer on YouTube and then finally look up the cast and crew, I had everything confirmed for me that it is indeed a Nosferatu movie. Specifically, a Nosferatu prequel. For those out there that are unfamiliar with the story of Nosferatu, Nosferatu was our very first vampire on the screen. And it is this vampire being that is causing chaos in this little village, and it is just looking for a meal, just everywhere it can go. But the thing about Nosferatu is that when it first starts up is that he's popping his creepy little head up, his little pointy-eared head, looking for his next meal. But if he's on a ship, then, like, what happened? How the fuck did Nosferatu get on the ship? That's a $64,000 question that hasn't been answered for quite some time. Well, it has. It comes from a story, but it's never really been given the theatrical debut to really dive into the story and bring this forth. It's been 100 years since Nosferatu graced the screens. And now we get to dive more into this particular part of horror history that isn't talked about as much. It's known, but it's not really commemorated enough as it should. As much as people celebrate vampires these days, we kind of forget the originator with Nosferatu. But Nosferatu has also been called Dracula, but honestly, for me, it's two different things with the way that Dracula has changed, but Nosferatu has not. Still remained the same baldy, creepy, pointy-eared thing from your nightmares. And I love that. I love a monster that just absolutely has no idea what they're doing, but they have the strive to kill. It's like that makes for a really compelling story to wonder how are the protagonists going to survive something that they're encountering a monster that all it thinks about is how to kill that person. It really ups the ante for the danger. And with this being on a ship, like, that's going to be even more terrifying. There's no way to escape a monster in the middle of the fucking sea. There's no way. I mean, it's called The Last Voyage of the Demeter for a reason, but at the same time, it makes you question, were there any survivors? What else happened on the ship? Who did Nosferatu kill? It's diving into that question, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to be answered. But at the same time, Nosferatu is starting to get a little bit more of a resurgence these days. With The Last Voyage of the Demeter, there is another Nosferatu movie in the works. Now, this isn't like a copycatting thing, it's just a sheer coincidence that we're going to be having a remake of a Nosferatu movie, and we're going to be having a prequel of sorts to Nosferatu. Kind of goes hand in hand together, like what Pearl is for the X movie, if anyone's ever seen those. But I want to talk about the cast real quick for Trailer Time, because that is also something I would like to bring up. The first name that I want to bring attention to is a kid named Woody Norman, who is not a name you know, but you're going to be seeing a lot of this kid, because I know I have. This kid has been in a lot of stuff. He was in the movie Come On, Come On with Joaquin Phoenix, and he also is going to be another horror movie coming up that's called Cobweb. And that one was going to be crazy. I can smell the crazy from my phone. And then, of course, Last Voyage of the Demeter. And there's another name that came up that I noticed the woman, but I didn't recognize the name. The woman's name is Aisling Francoisi. I think I botched her name, and I'm so sorry. And when I clicked on her profile, I recognized a little movie that I have talked about before on the show. A little traumatic tale called The Nightingale. So when I saw her, I'm like, oh, you again! No! You've come back! No offense to this actress, she's absolutely amazing, but her performances are so powerful it leaves you stunned for days. This woman does an amazing job in movies between The Nightingale. She was in The Unforgivable with Sandra Bullock, where she played her sister. She was also in Game of Thrones, and I've wondered if she was ever going to do a horror movie, and shit, like, my question I didn't think was ever going to be answered got answered with this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how she's going to be in the movie. And it's also another dude in this film, which I'm looking forward to seeing how he'll do this, a guy named Corey Hawkins, who was from Straight Outta Compton, Kong Skull Island, Black Klansman, In the Heights. Like, he's already got some very particularly good stuff on his filmography, and now he has a horror movie on there, and I'm like, alright, bro, bring the thunder, let's go. But the last thing I want to mention for the cast is the titular actor that will be playing Nosferatu, and it's a dude named Javier Botet. And from what I noticed, this man is no stranger to the horror genre. He has been in the Mummy, The Doomed, Tom Cruise movie, The Mummy. He was the hobo in the It movie. And he was the crooked man in The Conjuring 2. So this man knows how to make some nightmares. And that makes him absolutely perfect to play Nosferatu. But also someone different, because sometimes they do use the same horror actors that have done creatures before. And this kind of gives someone else a chance to throw on the creepy skin and the creepy ears and get to freak out the nation. And I look forward to that. But honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing this movie. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of movies set in the 1800s or vampire movies, I'm all for change and getting to see what can be shaken up for a genre. And the fact that they're going back in time to revitalize the genre again is wonderful. Not that there's any problems with horror movies, but you gotta shake it up to keep the interest. And the fact that they're going to do a tale that has not been told quite yet, or a tale that hasn't been told in quite some time, is really going to introduce the audience to the very first vampire. And for the vampire fans out there, this is really going to help bridge the gap so a lot of the earlier history can be honored and further echoed. So that will be interesting. I can't wait to talk about that when it finally becomes an episode on the Screen Queen. The Last Voyage of the Demeter comes out on August 11th, so we gotta wait. June, July. I have to math it. So about 2 months-ish is probably the wait, so I can wait that long. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Trailer Time. It's good to be back into this series again. I can't wait to bring more trailers to talk about now that we're getting the summer full of blockbusters. We got some interesting movies to talk about, and I can't wait to cover them. Now it is time for your feature presentation of No Escape. Take care, stay amazing, and I'll be back soon. You take care now. Bye-bye!